What's up, guys? Raptor7717 here with something I should have done perhaps a bit earlier, but whatever, I'm doing it now. Look at that. These are well, Limn notebooks. As you can see, they say Limn on them. And there are two of them. They come in two flavors, which are blue and red. The only actual difference between the blue and the red versions is blue and red here, and the lettering in the back, which is the Limn email address for purchasing or contacting the producer of these notebooks, is a different color in both of them. I will say right now that I am a little bit biased, as these books are made by my brother, but I'm going to evaluate them as fairly as I can, or as I believe I can. So first of all, we're going to look at which one shows up better on camera, which is probably the red one, actually. So we're going to look at the red one. You're going to see that this is half a page size dimensions. So roughly, I mean, what's it called? It should be roughly 8 by 5.5 or so. Just about that size. There are 20 sheets inside, which is 40 pages, and they have a single signature stitch here in the center that is covered on the outside, as you can see, with this binding tape. Very nice binding tape. It's really sturdy. I've seen them open and closed a lot. You can bend them all the way back like that. It doesn't really show too much on the tape. It's like it's nicer than what are those things? There's like Mead notebooks you get that have the that are perfect bound and not sewn, sort of. And they always crack and pages fall out of them. This is much better than that. Of course, this is sewn as well, so you're not going to be losing any pages here. They are not perforated, so you only get these. You can't take these sheets out unless you want to tear something. There is no distinction between the front and the back. There's no right way to hold the notebook except where the Limn is. You don't want to be holding your notebook upside down and look like a. I don't know what you'd look like. There's also the email address as well. The paper on them is, like, as you can see, it's square cut, which is kind of a bit different, but the paper is super nice. It's almost silky, but it's got enough of a grit that it, like I said, like, whatever, that it stops you from sliding across the page. So it's that's much more handy if you're drawing rather than if you're writing, but it's a really nice balance. It's like well, I have some comparisons. Let's see. Here's here's an older Moleskine, a really old Moleskine, actually. This is before they got really up with themselves, which also has a sewn thing, but it's got a much more. I think it doesn't have very many signatures. No, it's got a bunch of signatures. What am I saying? I'm an idiot. Anyway, this has a very similar paper style to these Limn books. In fact, I don't think, like, they're almost the same color even, but the paper is very similar. As you can see, I've beaten this up, but they're about the same size as well. Limn books are a little bit bigger, but that's not much of an issue. I mean, they fit in much the same places. These are both are good for sliding in your backpacks and such, and doing various things like that. So yeah, and this is, like, the paper in this is pretty much identical to the Moleskines of today. Like, it's not much different at all. It's Moleskine paper. It's just the binding is a bit different. And so we also have this, which is notebook or something. Most advanced quality gives best writing features. Obviously, this was something that was cheap, that was made in China. But actually, it's not that cheap. You can see the Chinese down there. Or possibly Chinese. No, it's Chinese. What am I doing? Anyway, this is I forget how many pages it is, but it's obviously a writing notebook. It's got page numbers and dates up here. And it's got really thin lines, really nice lines, and the paper on this is almost slick. The paper on this is really good for writing, but it's not too good for drawing, obviously, because it has lines and because it's so slick and you slide all over the place. As you can see, it's a little bit bigger, about the same thickness, a little bit thicker, but these, I believe, cost like $15, and these cost $9. So These are cheaper. And, I mean, they're about the same quality. You just get a little bit more space with this one. And maybe a few more pages. So yeah, there's that. And just a moment. Haha, professionalism. This is the a bigger Moleskine, slightly. And it's got basically the same paper, just so you can see. You can't really see the grain. You can't really see that I'm feeling the grain, but it's actually got basically the same grain, and I wasn't just lying to you there. Anyway, so here are the two Limn books. They're really good for writing. They bend and flex all over the place. You can't really bend them in half, but you can't bend most notebooks in half, so that's pretty good. They fit in all sorts of things. They fit in your bag, they fit in a satchel, they fit in, if you have really big pockets, they would probably fit in there. I probably have a pair of pants that I could shove these in if I really wanted to. They got just enough that they're not like writings, like a story novel, is what I'm saying. Novel size things if you're going to be writing, but I mean, there's room for diagrams and stuff if you are writing. The ink doesn't bleed through the paper very much, so you're not going to get a bunch of, like, if you draw something on this page and then start writing on the next page, it's not going to bleed through or anything like that. They go almost anywhere. They're really tough. This cardstock isn't, like, the corners will probably you know, end up wearing as corners do, but this cardstock on the cover is really tough, and this tape is even tougher. It's not gonna rip. It's not gonna come off. This cover will probably never come off the book. It's surprisingly tough. It's obviously not as tough as a hardback or something, but it's one of the toughest paperback type notebooks I've ever used. And yeah, they're just really good. I mean, obviously they have a few flaws. That like the corners mainly is my main problem. I'm really obsessive about that. Corners bending and breaking. I've done as much as I possibly can to prevent that, and also I have a pet peeve about when your notebooks lie flat, which these do, by the way. They don't really break. They do, however, add a little crease, and I have a bit of a pet peeve about that. But these are really good notebooks. They're great for almost anything. They're just the right size for notes. They're not too small. Like, they're not for slipping into your front pocket and then jotting down little notes, but they're not long enough to like write a novel in. They're just long enough to do something that's semi-important, or something that's important but not going to be super long. They're the right size for that. The right size for throwing your bag, carry around books is what I'm saying. And they do a really good job of that. So, yeah. Bye.